This week, the governor of Massachusetts, along with a gaggle of clapping swans, celebrated a new bill that would legitimize the terminating of tiny babies in the womb up until the moment of birth. This is celebrated by the crowd of those that believe they are the center of the universe, that there is no God, and they have the right to do whatever they want, whenever they want, with whomever they want. For those of us that follow Jesus and believe that people, however small, are valuable because they are made in the likeness and image of God, Genesis 1, we see this as a barbaric return to the days of pagan child sacrifice. The mother seeking an abortion says, "My will be done, and you give your life for me." The follower of Jesus says, "Thy will be done, and I will lay down my life for you." There could not be a more different worldview. All of this and more today. I'm Matt Odegaard, and this is Church Public. Welcome back to Church Public. Really appreciate you stopping by. If this is your first time, welcome. Glad to have you. If this is your 475th time, I really appreciate you as well. If you haven't already, hit all the buttons. They're on your screen. You know what to do at this point. They all do different things, but just smash those buttons. I don't even know if they do anything at this point, but, hit those, hit a review, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe. You know what to do. If this is helpful and you want to support, you can go to churchpublic.com/support. This is a one-man show, and as we saw last time, unfortunately, I had some audio issues, and so I do apologize for that. I'm still working to fix those, but hopefully this round is better. If you haven't already, navigate to the Substack. That is substack.com/@churchpublic, and you can both see and read about the show there. You can subscribe there as well. So lots going on today. We're going to get to a bunch of things like this abortion in mass. We're going to look at the WNBA again, though I don't want to. We're going to because it illustrates worldview very well. We're going to look at James Tallarico, Senate hopeful for Texas. I'm not hopeful, but he is. And maybe some other quick hits if we have time at the end. So we'll go ahead and get to that. We got a lot of things going on today. Ultimately, I just want to bring you current events from a Christian perspective to help you live out your faith, because more and more, even though we live with a conservative-ish president, this is a world that is against God, and that's really the problem. So we need to understand what it looks like to read the Bible and do what it says, what it looks like to follow Christ in all areas of your life, because your faith should be holistic. Love your God with your heart and soul and mind and strength. That's everything. So we want to be able to do that. And through these current events, I hope to show you some of the things that are going on. So if this is helpful, do all the things. Otherwise, let's get to some news. Okay, this is sad. I don't love this story. I really hate this story. But you can see here, if you're watching, if you're just listening, I will describe that the Massachusetts governor, Maura Healey, signed a bill for abortions up to birth, and she is, of course, a Democrat. And you see just all of these women around her celebrating, clapping, doing all of those things. This is now the 11th U.S. state with no limits on abortion. I remember back in the time, I didn't pull this clip. You could probably look it up if you wanted to, but at that time, presidential hopeful Kamala Harris was asked about abortion up to birth, and she said, nobody wants that. Nobody's doing that. Well, now 11 states are doing that. That includes Alaska, Colorado, Maryland, now Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Vermont. This is an extreme worldview that at any point in your baby's growth in utero, you can just remove it from the earth. And I know this is like a just basic worldview collision. There's a culture of life. There's a culture of death. I talk about this frequently because we need to understand which one we're in, and we need to understand which one the Bible is in. The Bible is clearly a culture of life. It is a culture of flourishing. It seeks, as Jesus says, to have life and have it abundantly. God wants you to have a great life. That doesn't mean you're healthy and wealthy and everything, because he does not promise there's not going to be problems in your life. He does not even promise there's not going to be suffering. But he wants you to have a flourishing life, and that's a culture of life. That is wildly different than the culture of death that the other side has. The culture of life, every single human is respected from the point of fertilization until natural death. And we want to save lives whenever possible and not take life whenever possible. Obviously, there are differences in justice because justice is necessary to change the outlook of humanity and community. And sometimes the taking of life is necessary in justice. But that is not the same as taking a life because you just want to. We all inherently know that, but I have to say these obvious things out loud because our culture does not operate in the obvious world. So on the other side, the culture of death is just they love the idea that you can have this personal autonomy. That's the fancy way of saying it, personal autonomy, which means you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, with you, whomever you want. And what that leads into is things like euthanasia, assisted suicide, medical aid in dying, MAID. You've heard these. These are real things. These happen all over the world, largely in westernized countries as well. And that is a culture of death. Now, that also includes what the euphemisms call like reproductive health, and your right to choose and things like that. But all of those things are a euphemism. That means a good word to say a bad thing, which is denying the life of others, removing lives from others without their consent. Obviously, in the case of babies in utero, they haven't said that's what they want. It's clear they don't want. So I'll show this picture again. This law signed into this bill signed into law by Massachusetts Governor Healy, and this is legislation, and it's signed by the governor. So it's not even just like they passed a bill. Even the governor had to do it, and not only do they have to do it, they have to hold this press conference and hold this press conference in front of television. And so you're videotaping this, and you're signing, and all of these hens are just sitting there clapping and smiling ridiculously. And these are the things that you have to go to show that this is great. It's wonderful. Everyone loves this. And of course, this means it's abortion with no limits, which of course is the logical end of the argument. Let's pause for just a second and say, sometimes they said in the past, safe, legal, and rare. I believe Roe versus Wade back in the day, 1973, was 24 weeks because they invented a trimester system. But if you say it's 24 weeks, why isn't it 12 or why isn't it 6? What is the line that makes a person a person? And the obvious answer is there's no line, because that's where this argument goes. The end of the argument is if you just choose a week based on something, and it used to be this quote unquote viability that no one could survive outside the womb before 24 weeks. Of course, that's not even true anymore. There are tons of stories that are before that. And yet that's not even the goal. Like, the goal, of course, is to be in utero until delivery date. But that's the problem, is once you assign an arbitrary number to this, then anywhere beyond conception, the answer is you can remove that baby. And that's what I would argue for. That's what those that are against this would argue for. Conception is obviously the point of life. Biologically, conception is obviously the point of life. Like, it's obvious. And here's a great example for you. If a baby is unalived outside the womb at 38 weeks, that is murder. If a baby is unalived inside the womb at 38 weeks, that is called, quote unquote, healthcare. There's your problem. That's the problem. That's why the line is arbitrary and monstrous. They don't want healthcare. They just want birth control so they can do whatever they want to whomever they want, whenever they want, and no consequences. This is the thing we have to continue to look at and understand when we see these. It should be enraging to see these people standing there and clapping, because they're applauding the potential death of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. By records, the abortions since Roe v. Wade started in the 70s is in the tens of millions. Some counts are 70 plus million babies that have been removed because of this. Like, this is terrible, and they look positively joyful. Others might say demonic, but who's counting? All right, let's turn to another one here. This one is rather funny. University of Michigan. I spent some time in Michigan, so I'm familiar with this university. Likely you are as well. The University of Michigan has decided, and this is, we're starting school, right? Everybody, we're starting school. Some of you, your students are starting school this week, last week, whenever you're watching this. So we've got some kids going to college. I will be very forthright. My kids are definitely not going to this college. not in a million years. And here's one of the reasons. University of Michigan changes grade policy for some freshmen. Here's the subline of that. University gets rid of letter grades for some students. I just can't with these stories. So this real story, it's funny. There used to be, I joined the social medias a long time ago. And there used to be like sites that made fun of things. There still are. The problem now is sometimes you can't tell what are jokes and what are not jokes. I read things like this and I'm like, oh, that's a funny joke. You're starting school and there's not going to be grades. Every child's wish and dream. I get to start school and there's no grades. How great is this? It's wonderful. Except this is not a joke. It's a real thing. University of Michigan. This is not even a small university. This is a huge university in Michigan. This is nationally known. A nationally known university says, well, don't worry about it. We don't have to do grades this time. Just go to college. It'll be a great time. I don't even know what to say. Like, what's the point of this? So the university says it's attempting to curb, quote unquote, mental health crisis among students. A spokesman for the university says, quote, we believe covering grades, in other words, not registering grades, quote, covering grades will help students start strong and curb the mental health crisis unfolding among college-age individuals, end quote. That's the official University of Michigan statement. There's a couple big problems with this. The first problem is, what if you want to go farther than just your undergraduate studies, which some people do? Like some people have a master's, some people have a doctorate. If you apply for a master's later, for instance, and that college says, show me your transcript, which every college is going to do. And for that first semester of college, maybe even more, we don't know how long it's going to last. You have a transcript that says you were there, but you have no grades. What is the college where you're applying for your master's? What are they going to do? What are they going to say? No. Like, we need our 8 semesters of grades, our 4 years of grades, and you're only giving us 7. So it's not fair for us to admit you, who only has 7 semesters of grades, versus a person who has 8 semesters of grades. Like, I foresee something like this happening, right? Like, wouldn't that happen? Probably. So it's fraught with problems just from the perspective of like, what happens if you want to do more? And maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to go to undergraduate and that's all you're going to do. And okay, whatever. But here's another question. The reason that is given to withhold the grades is a mental health crisis. What is the mental health crisis? Like what is apparently a large enough part of the entering students into the freshman class into the University of Michigan is so mentally struggling that they can't have grades for a semester or more. This is a problem. Here's what I want to do for this. Let's bring it to Christianity. Let's bring it to the Bible. The Christian worldview problem here is discipleship is a main facet of Christianity. We could cite a bunch of verses about that, even Matthew 28, the Great Commission. Discipleship, teaching, education, literacy are huge parts of the Christian faith. Even before that, they were huge parts of the Hebrew faith. Literacy, reading, knowing things is just a part of it. Growth, there's so many verses about growing, learning, continuing, not stopping. Maturity by nature is the goal. Now, in the Bible, a lot of times it is referred to as spiritual maturity, but there's also just general maturity. Read through the Psalms, the Proverbs, like general maturity. Avoiding immaturity is a large goal of Christianity. And I will say, of course, maturity by nature is difficult because it's a process of growth and change, and sometimes that's uncomfortable. I get it. But what is the goal here except for delaying maturity? You're sending kids, students, whatever you want to call them, into the college environment, and you're also saying to them, you are too mature to have grades. And I mean, this hits home a little bit. Personally, in my house, we've had several conversations surrounding the readiness to go to college, or if going to college at all is even necessary, or taking a break in between now and going to college is more conducive to long-term growth and health. I've had those conversations with my own children in my own family, but that's a personal conversation that's helpful to determine next steps. That's really good. This is a corporate university level policy that you might not have grades for the entire student body or some portion of the student body, potentially slowing their entire progress in the service of some elusive quote unquote health problem. Like if the student is not ready for adulthood, which apparently this is saying that they are not, that they have to go through a process to get ready. Like there has to be a process for that. Or as many of us did, you just jump in and figure it out. I was not ready to be an adult. Who in the world is ready to be an adult? Most are not. So we just jump in and figure it out as we go, making all kinds of mistakes. But like, isn't that the process of maturity? Like going through the process and figuring out how to mature and how to get better and make mistakes and then learn from the mistakes and grow. Like this is wild. And I don't know where this goes. I'm going to keep an eye on this. And in the meantime, just the general and same public service announcement: get your kids out of government schools, and homeschooling is definitely the best. Okay, let's continue on. I mean, we got to come back to this, and I am so unhappy that we have to come back to this. But we're going back to the WNBA. I'm so absolutely tired of the WNBA. I admittedly didn't even care in the first place, like really, and could care less now. The only reason that this is important for us is their search for the meaning of truth is a great example of either having a worldview or not understanding the worldview that you're in. So they still don't know what the W in WNBA means. I think this Babylon Bee headline sums it up very well. WNBA changes league name to ?NBA. I absolutely love that. And so true. I mean, that is where we are. That is where they are. Apparently, they do not know what the W stands for. I know Matt Walsh, in his documentary, What is a Woman, went to staggering lengths to figure out what the W stands for and what the woman is. Maybe Ketanji Brown Jackson could help us with that. Yeah, probably not. So let's just remind ourselves what is going on here. Where did this come from? This came from mostly, though there were some other things, it came mostly from Sophie Cunningham. Quote, I think I'm here to extend love, but I also think with that love is truth, being honest. I want to protect young girls in locker rooms or young girls in a sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. In other words, men don't belong in women's sports. Quite obviously so. I've been saying this for years at this point. I mean, it's just so ostensibly obvious that it shouldn't be an argument. And yet we now have the ?NBA who clearly doesn't know what a woman is. So we've discussed at length. You can go back to last week's and excuse the sound issues. Just fast forward a couple of seconds and they should be over. So I talked about this at length. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but we do have to go through some of the things. And that Sophie, she just talks about men not being in women's sports, like very obviously so. So there was the backlash. I mean, it's just been insane. You had people on our own team. You had the coach. I played that for you last time. She didn't even want to say what a woman was or what is the role of men in women's sports. You had others. I played you a bunch of things there. Go back and listen to that episode. But all of this led to this crisis now. This crisis is, again, just like, what is the W? They don't know. They cannot figure it out. And they're meeting to figure this out. But as we get there, I just want to keep saying Sophie, who's going to be the lightning rod for this, is going to be targeted. And not just online. Here is a video of one of the things that happened. I think I turned the audio off on this. Hopefully it is working better than last time. So if you're not watching, Sophie's going up for a basket. This other player on the opposite team, Dejanay, I guess is her name. I don't know how to say it. I mean, it's like this crazy elbow hook to her head and to her face. If you're just listening, it was wild. I'm glad Sophie is okay. Like that was a wild call. So the referees did determine it was a flagrant foul penalty, and she was ejected from the game. This Dejanay or DJ, I think as she goes by. But then I don't know if do I have this? Let's see. I don't think I have this clip, but Sophie's own coach, the coach of Sophie's team, to be super clear, Stephanie White, thought it was not even an intentional foul. She said she didn't see it. Okay, that's kind of wild. Comment on your own team on something you don't know, on something you didn't see, and rule against your team. But okay, when she did see it, she did say it was a flagrant foul, so that's good. And she held a press conference and said, "I thought the play was called right. You know, she's looking after her people." Let's hear. I think I have some of that. Let's play some of that.
I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell. Our players' health and wellness, our players' safety is always a top priority for me. One of the things I pride myself on is my relationships with players. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win. It won't win. We are united. We are connected. We will not be divided. Every day these women put their on the line. Every day. When they go low, we go high. Love will win. Grace will win. Humility will win. And kindness will win. I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
So, very aggressive. If you were not watching, she gets up and walks out. It sounds nice, but here's the thing to realize from a Christian perspective. Her values are clearly not Christian values, even though some of them sound like it, like love and mercy and humility and grace. And so we have to recognize that she's using terms like that. The one term that she did not use that I would have appreciated she use is truth will win. I know that sounds super obvious, but that's not one of the words that she used. And I'll just have to take her word that in the first interview she didn't see the foul, though why are you talking about it? And why don't you come to the aid? Like, why wouldn't you, as the coach of the team, for your player, come to the, like, choice of your player over the other team's player first? If you didn't see the foul, why wouldn't you say, like, yeah, I can't believe that other player on the other team did that, and be wrong in that direction rather than be wrong in the direction of, yeah, clearly our player was not wrong and not fouled. Like, that's wild. So that doesn't sound like love. I'll also point to, and we talk about this sometimes in my house and sometimes in discipleship, I've talked about it. There are the words that you say, and there's how you say the words. You can say the right words in the wrong way, and it's really bad. I would say when you, and you can tell me if you were just listening or watching, did she sound like she was full of love? Did she sound like she was full of grace? Did she sound like she was full of humility when she stood up and stormed off and slammed her papers down on the table? I mean, you can answer those questions for yourself. I don't know. We'll keep watching that. There's some other parts of the story that get kind of weird after this event, where we saw Sophie get like arm hooked and knocked down. The player who did that then posted to and at tweeted mentioned. I keep calling tweets because it's Twitter, but now it's X anyway. At tweeted all caps white privilege at Indiana Fever, which is Sophie Cunningham's team, not this player's team. So that's kind of weird that the person who did the foul to a white person who got ejected then claims some sort of racism because she fouled another player and got ejected. Okay. It's interesting. Let's keep going and come back to the WNBA. So I think it's funny that the WNBA cannot figure this out, and they're having meetings. And apparently, after a meeting a couple days ago, this is going to take weeks or months. Quote, today's meeting covered a range of topics, including ongoing discussions on transgender athletes, that would be men, and the continued hate and vitriol directed at players online. We will continue to engage all league stakeholders in the coming weeks and months. End quote. Weeks and months to determine what is a woman. Shouldn't take that long. So in another lane, which is just my favorite part of this whole story, these two former NBA players. Now, if you're not keeping track, we've been talking about the WNBA, which quite clearly is the Women's National Basketball Association. These two NBA former players who are men. I know this is not hard for those playing along at home, but to the WNBA, apparently it is. So these two guys, Royce White and Enes Kanter, declared that they are now women and they want into the NBA. And there are, I didn't clip them all. You can go watch them. It's incredible. They've both put out videos and pleas to enter into the WNBA. And if you're just watching, I mean, these are very large dudes. They're very large dudes. And it's fantastic. The WNBA, of course, says it's quote unquote bad faith that they want to enter the WNBA and their transition is not real. But who is to say? Who's to say what a woman is, right? I mean, these are the very criteria that you have given. And this is the problem with your worldview. Based on your own lack of limiting principle, if you claim you're a woman because you simply say you're a woman and then you actually are a woman, then these two former NBA dudes are clearly women. I mean, look at these two beautiful women that used to play for the NBA as men and now clearly are women. And before you say, if you're watching, before you say, oh, that guy's wearing a wig, I would just like to look at this lady who is the lady who did the foul on Sophie Cunningham. And I mean, I don't know. I am not a woman, clearly, so I could be very wrong here. But I am not sure this lady's natural hair color is straight and blonde. So don't come at me with the wig excuse. Of course, this is all silly. But for a Christian, we need to continually point to reality. And that's the deeper issue here. The worldview perspective is that there is reality. The Christian worldview says there's reality. You can't just make up things because you want them to be true. There is truth. Truth is real. A man is not a woman. A woman is not a man. Those things are impossible. And so we're going to have to deal with this, not with untethered empathy, which means, oh, I feel bad for dudes that think they're women, so we should let them play basketball with the women. No, there are real people involved with real feelings, but that doesn't change the real truth. You can love someone and you do not have to lie to them. That's the core value. Lying is not loving. I even feel like there's a commandment somewhere about that. Okay, let's check in on our man, James Tallarico, the Democrat, alleged Christian, who is running for Senate in Texas. Gosh, I went through a whole thing on him, and I thought, like, let's just do a quick thing. This will go away. I'll never have to talk about it again, but we're having to talk about it again because he is gaining ground in Texas for the Senate race. So go back in the archives on this one as well. I think I called it Tallarico's Terrible Theology. I gave you so many examples of just wild things that he says, but a new ad has dropped, so we have to cover this new ad and check it out because it shocks me how much money and ads the campaign is pouring into this. They are everywhere. They're all over my social feeds. They're on some of the TV things that I stream. He's everywhere. And so the latest one that I saw, I think yesterday, I was watching a show, streaming a show, and this came on with Tallarico about his pawpaw, Tallarico's pawpaw. So let's watch this. I think it's a pretty quick ad, and then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
All right. This is my pawpaw.
And Jimmy is my grandson.
As a Baptist preacher in South Texas, he taught me to follow the two great commandments: love God
And love your neighbor.
I've tried to follow those teachings, first as a public school teacher,
And now as a Texas lawmaker.
providing relief to those struggling to afford their health care, their housing, their groceries.
That's loving your neighbor.
I'm James Tallarico, and I approve this message.
Amen.
So short and sweet. I actually don't really disagree with anything he said. Like, that's the problem. The problem is all of that sounds great. I mean, I pull up my Bible and say, yes, Jesus said, love God and love your neighbor. That's even the right order. He said the right things. That Baptist preacher knows that pawpaw. He's got it. My question, though, comes when this is not the only things that James Tallarico has said, and that's the problem. So go back. I'm not going to play all the clips right now for time, but go back and watch all of the clips that I posted. I'm going to play a couple, though, because I wonder if this Baptist preacher pawpaw knows that God is also non-binary.
God is non-binary.
That is James Tallarico. And that's a short clip that I played on the longer episode where he says God is not male, God is not female, which I guess technically is true, but God is definitely not non-binary. And for those that say you have to respect people's pronouns, God very clearly says his pronouns are he. So no, sir, as a Christian, quote unquote, as you're claiming, You don't get to say that God is non-binary. That is incorrect. That is heresy. You do not pass go. You do not win in the being a Christian category. So that's a problem. Oh, and this is another thing that he just said. This is about kids reading the Bible. Let's hear this.
And then the last one is maybe the most insidious. It was a new state curriculum that would teach Christian Bible stories as historical fact, as the only truth to our youngest students. And I mean kindergarten, first graders. These are kids who aren't able to think for themselves yet. They haven't formed their own worldviews. And to push propaganda, to push indoctrination on those youngest students is deeply immoral.
Wow, it was going so well. And then I wonder, Mr. Tallarico, if your pawpaw, the Baptist preacher, would think that teaching kindergartners Bible stories is problematic and immoral. My guess is no. I've known a lot of pastors and preachers in my day. I would say that most of them would love to teach kindergartners Bible stories because not only are they historically true, the Bible is real, it really did happen, but they're incredibly valuable in teaching morality. Not problematic and immoral. This is an oxymoron if you are a believer. So I'm sorry, sir. That is incorrect from a Christian perspective. Not to mention, he thinks Jesus was a feminist. I covered that clip. You can go watch that one. He believes all roads lead to God. He talked about Muslims and Sikhs and Hindus, and it's all the same God. Wrong. He's fighting for quote-unquote trans abortion rights. I don't even know what that means. And many more not Christian things. So he used Mary as the first example of why there should be abortion, because Mary chose to keep Jesus in utero, but her choice meant that you can have a choice to end your pregnancy. This is a real thing. Go back and listen to my other episode. You can watch that clip. I think the bottom line for me here is please tell all your friends not to vote for this fake Christian. Like you watched just that video. And here's my problem. That's why I bring this up. If you watched just that 30 seconds, you'd go, yeah, those are all Christian things. That all sounds good. Like, yes, I believe actually all of those things. I have no problem with any of those things in that video. The problem is that's not really what he believes, as evidenced by all of these other things that I posted for you. And go back and watch all those other videos. Please check my work on this. He sounds great when you only hear him talk about certain points, but there is a word for those that cherry pick verses out of the Bible for the things that they want to say, and then make up things for the things that you have otherwise, and that would be heretics. So I don't know what's going on, but you got to be careful about that. Okay, we're at 32. We got time for a couple quick hits. These are just some things that I saw as I was perusing around the internets. The Dallas-Fort Worth Airport was about to send $300,000 to install additional Islamic foot washing stations. Yes, you heard that right. So the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport was about to spend $300,000. Some, I believe, no, it was privately funded. I looked at that. Anyway. But it is a public airport. So I believe Governor Abbott has stopped this, but just for reference, there are already Islamic foot washing stations, in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston airports. But here is my question. Why are we making special accommodations for religions that hate Christianity and hate the Bible? Like, that's the problem. If you are able to practice your religion without impeding on the regular public life of other people around you, there may be a case for that outside of Christianity. Maybe. I still have questions, and I'm not sure, but we should be under no obligation to install permanent fixtures to godless pagan worshipers in this Christian country. The fact that we should install foot washing stations so Muslims can worship their fake pagan deity is not okay, and that's not allowed, and that does not fall under the freedom of religion clause. We don't have to do that as a country. We can just say no. You may have some freedom to be able to practice a religion that is not Christianity. That's fine. However, I don't have to change my entire airport situation so that you can do that. If you can do that at home, great. If you can do that where you're going, great. If it does not impede regular life of regular people, especially Christians, fine. But we should not have to convert our restrooms at public spaces to other gods, especially pagan ones. Here's another one. Oh, again, we're starting school around the country. My California friends, you should know that the SB 760 allegedly requires mixed sex restrooms in all, hear me again, all K through 12 schools in the state. And apparently they're also adding feminine products for those third grade and on. I don't have a lot to say about this. It should be obvious that this is terrible. Men are not women. Once again, get your kids out of public schools. Let's see. I think I have one more. This is a good one. This is a nice one. A Christian missionary pilot, Kevin Rideout, was abducted in Niger last October. That is terrible. And he was returned to the United States just a couple of days ago. Officials said, quote, Kevin was kidnapped by jihadi terrorists in West Africa, the epicenter of Islamist terrorism, where there have been more deadly attacks in the past year than anywhere else on earth, end quote. And even President Trump welcomed him home. So I love that. I think that'll do it for me today. For Church Public, I'm Matt Odegaard. I hope you all keep the faith. Thanks again for stopping by, everybody. Really appreciate you. If you'd like to help, go to churchpublic.com/support. Otherwise, have a great week, a great weekend. God bless. And as always, keep the faith.